guys, Absolute Duelist here, coming at you with my first Yu-Gi-Oh video this year. And guys, it's already the first day of the year, and I cannot believe what Konami have done. Konami have released information for potentially the most broken Yu-Gi-Oh card ever created. This card has so much going for it, and does so much for this game that literally, if you're playing a deck that can utilize this, I guarantee you're probably going to win. Because this card literally changes the entirety of a duel. It is a card that affects the entire duel, and it's the first time Konami have released this. Charmander himself was surprised. He was surprised when he saw this card. And Charmander, he loves decks. He loves playing Yu-Gi-Oh at times. You know, he's a Pokemon, but he loves it. But he could not believe how stupid this card is when he read this. And he's a Pokemon. Pokemon card games have cards that say draw 5. And Yu-Gi-Oh is getting a card like this. And guys, I really couldn't believe what I was reading when I read this card. So let's get into it and talk about this card that's coming out in Cyberstorm Access. And really just discuss it, because this card, it really is just absolutely insane. So here it is, Time-Rending Morganite. And what this card is essentially the first line of text. During this duel, apply each of the following effects. This is a card that gives these effects throughout the entire duel. These effects are applied to you as the player through the game and nothing else. You gain nothing other than these effects during the entire duel, and if you do something out of line of these effects, you cannot activate the card. So literally absolutely insane how a card can affect the entire duel. It reminds me of match winners from back in the day, where if you dealt damage with the card and put your opponent's life points to 0, you just won the match. Like, that's why Victory Dragon is banned as well, because people just scooped and there was a lot of controversy behind that. But literally absolutely insane how this works. But let's read what it does. So its first line of text is, you cannot activate the effects of monsters in the hand. So if you've used an effect of a monster in the hand, you cannot use this card. But if you haven't, you can activate this card and gain the next bit of text that says you draw 2 cards when you conduct your normal draw phase. What this card essentially is saying, for the entirety of the duel, if your deck isn't tier limits, if your deck isn't hand trap focused, you can go ahead and gain an additional draw each turn. Now, some people might be thinking, well, that's not that great, but overall, I think that is absolutely busted. Like, when you really think about it, guys, what is the one thing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players have said throughout the entirety of Yu-Gi-Oh? I would have won if I just drew one more card. You would have definitely not won if I just drew this card. Like, this card says you're getting 2 cards every turn instead of 1. So if you're playing this card, I don't think you can complain about getting that 1 extra draw. This card literally says you draw 2 cards every turn instead of 1. Like, the amount of additional advantage this gives is just insane. Like, having that additional card can literally mean the difference between winning and losing a game. And the fact that this card exists and says, oh yeah, I get no hand traps. By the way, you can still have hand traps because Imperm is a trap card and a hand trap, but you're getting the additional draw every turn, so losing the hand traps isn't even that big a deal. And the thing is, guys, something I want to make very clear. You may be losing monster effects for the entirety of the duel, but you can still utilize inherent summon effects. You can still utilize any going second card. Dark Ruler No More, Evenly Matched, Forbidden Droplets, Ultimate Slayer. All spell cards that aren't monster effects that activate in the hand. So literally, you can gain inherent summons, you have access to tons of going second cards, so losing hand traps isn't even that big of a deal. And the problem that I'm having with this card and why this card is so broken, yes, it gives you an additional draw every turn, but on top of that, you get an additional normal summon every turn. Like, you can normal summon a set up to 2 per turn. Like, that is insane. How is Konami making a card that not only gives you an additional draw every turn, but also gives you the ability to gain 2 normal summons each turn. Like, special summoning is already an issue, and one of the few things in Yu-Gi-Oh! That really does change the game is having the ability to give you an additional normal summon. Like, back in the day, I can already think of like 12 different cards that were insane. Like, off the top of my head, I'll name 3, and a few of them are basically banned right now. One, Gem Knight, the Gem Knight engine. Like, I can't remember the exact one. It's the one that gives you an additional normal summon. Gem Knight Fusion is limited to 1 because of the fact you just gained an additional normal summon every turn. Nightmare Goblin, you gained an additional normal summon. Like, this is all really insane stuff and really crazy stuff. And how Konami have given a card the ability to gain an additional normal summon every turn and an additional draw every turn is just stupid. It's insane. It's crazy. It's dumb. And how Konami have done this is just crazy. And the thing is, that's not even where the card ends. The card has one more effect. The card has the additional effect of says, you can banish this card from your graveyard and discard 1 Time-Rending Morganite. So pretty much playing 3 of this already isn't bad because you gain an additional effect that comes with you discarding another copy of the card. So playing 3 of it is perfect. You gain the additional effects and you have a use for the 2nd and 3rd copy of Morganite. Now, what does the additional effect do? During this turn, when you normal summon a monster, your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters. So, what I'm reading here is, not only do you lose the ability to use hand traps, gaining the ability to draw 2 cards every turn, gaining the ability to gain 2 normal summons each turn. But on top of that, you also have the ability to stop your opponent from using their hand traps on your normal summons. Like, how is it Konami have made a card that literally changes the entirety of a game? This card literally changes the entirety of any duel it's played in. This card gives so much advantage to the person who plays this card first. This card literally says, oh, I don't care on what you're playing. If my deck has inherent summons, if my deck can normal summon multiple times, if my deck can gain more advantage, this card is great. Now, if you're playing Telements, if you're playing any deck that utilizes effects in hand, this card cannot be played in it. But off the top of my head, one deck that this card can be played in right away, Spright. You can play this in Spright. Every single Spright is an inherent summon. Every single effect that you would think activates in hand doesn't activate in hand. None of the Sprites activate in hand. So this card already has a place in the game. This card already has a utilization spot in the game. And on top of that, there are other decks that can utilize this. Flunderees can utilize this. They can gain an additional normal summon every turn now, on top of all the other normal summons they already have. This card is just absolutely insane. This card can give so many benefits to so many other decks. Like, off the top of my head, every trap deck can utilize this to the fullest as well. So, honestly guys, I just can't believe Konami made a card that literally not only gives you an additional normal summon, an additional draw every turn by taking away all of your monster effects in hands, but also gives you the ability to stop your opponent from utilizing their hand traps on your normal summons. Like, honestly, it's just an absolutely insane card, an absolutely crazy card. It's literally game defining how crazy this card actually is. And guys, I really just can't believe it. But guys, that's all I really have to say for this video about this card, because this card is absolutely insane. This card is absolutely nuts. And Konami, it's only the first day of the year, and you've released something that should have never existed. Like, it feels like Mystic Mine all over again, even though Mystic Mine was very oppressive. This just changes the flow of an entire game to a point where Mystic Mine, yes, it stops people from playing the game, but this card just gives way too much advantage to whoever activates it first. So, guys, yeah, that's all I have to say. Thanks so much for watching. Charmander can't believe it, I can't believe it. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Robot1 signing out. Literal. Absolutely stupid card.